How to use a pattern interrupt at work to increase productivity. We human beings are a whole bunch of different types of patterns. We have patterns for everything that we do. And there's a real good reason for that, because when we develop patterns in our body, we can operate subconsciously. We can use the subconscious mind to operate the pattern, and we don't have to use our conscious mind, use more energy and focus. We can just run the pattern. Now, this is a really good trait of the human body, that we can develop these patterns that we can use in our life that support our life. Now, the challenge is, what sort of patterns are we talking about? Let me give you a few. The pattern of turning up to work on time, how I speak to my clients and customers, how I communicate with my work colleagues. So these are some of the patterns that we develop, and we just repeat them time after time after time. And that's a really good thing if there's a condition. It's a really good thing if our patterns are positive, in as much as they work for us and they work for the people around us. The real challenge is if they're not working for us, if we're not getting the results that we want, if the people around us aren't comfortable and they're not getting the results, we have to change the pattern. Now, this pattern interrupt will help you to break somebody else's pattern that may not be very productive. So I know at your workplace, you wouldn't have anyone like this. You wouldn't have a colleague who possibly could be a bit negative, focusing on the problem, blaming other people, pointing the finger. I'm sure there's no one at work like that in your workplace. Having said that, you may know somebody at another company that has that type of behavior, that type of negative pattern. So how do we overcome it? What do we do? Very simply, it's a really simple technique. So let me share it with you now. So if someone came to you and they're complaining, talking about a problem, and they're stuck in that pattern, they always do it, and now they're in the pattern. What we have to do, we have to interrupt that pattern. And we want to say something to them that's completely off subject, something that's completely not what you're talking about. And then when you do that, they will come back to the subject and they'll say, oh, what were we talking about again? And it's at that point that you can steer them towards a solution. You can steer them in a positive direction. So what sort of things could you say in a pattern interrupt? Okay, so just imagine someone's talking to you, then you all of a sudden you could say, hey, look, I think it's raining outside. And they'll turn around and look outside. It's, oh, maybe it's just getting cloudy, it's not raining yet. Then you come back to the conversation and the person says, oh, where were we? Now you jump in and steer the conversation where you want it to go in a productive way, in a productive direction. So what other interrupt could you say? You could say something like, oh, that's right, I've got to send an email before I leave tonight. You just come out with it, you just blurt it out, and the other person sort of looks at you a bit shocked. Interrupt the pattern. Now you come back to the conversation, start to lead it in the direction you want it to go. And what happens when you do this? That interrupt to the pattern becomes part of the new pattern. So when that person in front of you goes into that same pattern, start to complain, now they go into their subconscious mind and they think, oh, where's that pattern that I usually use? And they'll bring up the pattern that they last used. And in that pattern, you've got the interrupt. So now they bring the pattern up with the interrupt, and you'll see that they won't complain as much. They'll hit the pattern where they got interrupted, then they might move on to the positive. And the more times you do this, the more times you can interrupt someone's pattern, then the most current pattern has got all these interrupts in it, the new pattern becomes more positive. The new pattern becomes more productive. So when you're communicating with the person, you don't have those same challenges. So have a think about if you get into that situation. Test it out for yourself. Try it out. See what happens. But you will be pleasantly surprised how you can quickly interrupt the pattern, Then get onto the subject and steer it in the direction you want it to go. And if you do it long enough, you will completely change the pattern of the other person. So now it's a more positive pattern and it's a more productive pattern. So you're helping yourself, you're helping the person in front of you, and if you're in a company, you're helping the company to stay on track and to get the job done. That's it. That's the Mega Living message today. If you like the talk today about pattern interrupt, please give me the thumbs up. Hit that like button down below. Also, if you could share the video by hitting that share button, please do. And if you haven't subscribed and you'd like to subscribe, all you have to do is hit that red subscribe button. Have an awesome afternoon. Talk to you next time. High five. Bye for now.